Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Wrist Cheese Radio podcast, your home for horological hot takes, taboo topics, and often unpopular watch opinions. I am your host, Bro Dinky. With me, as always, is my co-host, Schmidt. Schmitty, how are you, bud?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm really good. I took the very, very rare weekend off,
Good for
which
you.
is unheard of in my line of work.
Yeah, for sure.
But we just closed up a somewhat large part of our facility for the season, so we have a couple extra bodies lying around. So I might have said, "Hey, we got people," and we happen to have been offered a completely free, all-inclusive vacation for the weekend.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, so it just so happened now stay with me here. It's my wife's godmother, who is her aunt.
Okay.
It's their 40th wedding anniversary. So big milestone. They wanted to take pretty much everybody who lives in our vicinity or anybody who can make it up
Yeah.
to Pennsylvania, to the mountains. Beautiful, all-inclusive resort where you had like your own little cabins.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, so totally serene getaway. I did take the kids, so I spent a lot of time chasing little people around, but it was all in good fun. I didn't
Yeah,
have
for
to go
sure.
to work the next day. I could have a drink or two. So all good there. I'm well rested. You could probably hear it in my the energy in my voice a little bit. While I was there, right, and this resort has a lot of like it's a family resort, so it has a lot of like family things that go on, and part of it is they do like silly like family games, like almost like Olympic type things where you just like compete at stupid events and things,
Okay.
but it's just for fun. While I happen to have been in that vicinity, I walked by this couple. The dude's wearing a Monaco,
What?
and his wife is wearing a Mission to the Sun moon swatch.
Okay. Watch fam for sure.
Right? I
For
was like,
sure.
where is the connection here? I was so tempted to stop and like grab them, but it was in the middle of like weird competition things, so I didn't. But
Yeah.
I was so intrigued.
That's so cool.
I wanted to just stop and be like, hey, where'd you get that? I was like, do you know those are tough to get?
Because this is the other thing too. Like those are two very esoteric watches.
Completely.
Like it's not like it's not like a Tag Carrera. Like it's a Monaco,
Yeah.
right? Like that is a choice watch. That's like a deliberate decision. So, and then to have a mission to the sun, that's also a rare watch to get. I mean, it's just difficult.
It's a rare choice, first of all, if you're going to get a
Yeah,
moon swatch. And the moon swatch has been a pain in the ass to get. So
absolutely.
I was super intrigued by that.
Yeah,
But
that's
as always,
that's
my
very
uh,
interesting.
my
Yeah, for
approach
sure.
anxiety gets the best of me, and I just I
I
bit.
I know it is certainly real. It is certainly real.
All right. This week we had some new drops. I think we're going to touch on one of which we have asked for in a previous episode. I believe you'll remember. I don't remember if this was the reissues we wanted or 2022 wish list, but we had
Okay.
spoken about Volcane. They had brought back the
Yes.
Cricket in a limited
Yes.
edition. Now the Cricket is making a full comeback. The
I'm
President's
glad.
Watch.
Yeah, yeah. The official president's watch has been gifted to every single president since basically forever. But Vulcan Cricket's finally back. You guys know this. We talked about it. Vulcan's one of my kind of entry watches. I mean, it was literally my first ever Swiss watch was a
Right.
Vulcan,
Yeah, I
not a
think we remember
Cricket,
that
but a
story.
Vulcan. We talked about this before in the pod. But I'm really excited to see this come back, and I think this is a watch that the watch world needs. This is a complication, the mechanical alarm that just nobody really does anymore. We talked about Tudor with their advisor, and they just
Yeah.
kind of like leave it out in the pasture, and like nobody knows that what they're doing with it. So I think that with this type of return with the Vulcan Cricket, maybe you'll start to see people taking mechanical alarms more seriously again. I think it's a really cool complication and it's unique.
Yeah, definitely somewhat useful.
Yeah,
Like if you're
absolutely.
somebody who times things or needs to set an alarm, I think it's not completely useless as some sort of defunct complications are nowadays,
Right, right.
as we've spoken about. This one comes in, I think you can get it in two sizes, 36 and 39.
That's right up your alley, man.
Yeah,
That'll
comes with
satiate that satiates a lot of watch fam, that's
it
for sure.
does. You got a lot of people covered there. It's got as you said, V10 hand wind movement in it, 42 hours, alarm. Comes in black, white, and salmon. Salmon is limited,
Yeah. Well, I
but
mean,
the
it
other
makes sense. It
two
makes
are
sense.
not.
Yeah.
And
But
it
I
does
imagine
come.
I
It
imagine we're going
comes,
to see more of this. We're going to
yeah,
see more of these crickets come
I would
for
think
sure.
so too. And it does come with the cool case back engraving, sold the world over since 1958.
Yeah.
So
I
really
mean,
cool heritage
awesome.
piece.
Awesome. And I can't wait because if they continue to expand this, because Volcane has been in a very tumultuous way for many years now, and they were like defunct and they got bought out and they're trying to, it's a whole thing. But I've been keeping a close eye on them because they are one of my favorite brands for sure. They just don't produce a lot, and they have. I'm just waiting for the nautical cricket to come back because once the nautical cricket comes, dude,
That's a cool watch.
it is on. That is a very cool watch.
Yeah. However, these are not exactly cheap watches, coming in at 3,600 and 3,900 respectively for 36 millimeter and 39 millimeter models.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
But as you said, they don't make a lot. So I kind of the price you pay there.
Yeah, makes sense.
On the other end of the spectrum, the affordable end, as we know, I'm a big fan of, Orient has come out with some retro divers. Now,
Now they actually have water resistance,
the
right?
first thing you said to me was, "Can you take them in the water?" Because we've talked about the SK Retro a bunch that only has, I think, 50 meters water resistance, and it is called the SK Retro Diver. So that was a little bit of a weird situation, but this one
Yeah.
does come in with 20 bar or 200 meters water resistance.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
It is also an internal rotating bezel, cushion case. Interesting release. They come in a few different layouts, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, this one actually looks cool. Like I do like the design, especially the orange and black one. I think that's
that
probably my
is very
favorite.
smooth.
It's a good looking watch. And they do have kind of like a black one with kind of the rainbow, different color motif that seems to be very popular these days. But I like them. I think it's cool, and I think that this is what should have came out before.
Yeah, this is what Orient should stick to.
I mean, it just looks cool. It looks like an Orient, and their SK reissues were just kind of like completely missing the mark for me. This is a much better alternative for sure. There's, I think, like a red gold kind of version too.
So it's bronze coated steel.
Okay, so
Yeah,
basically a bronze PVD'd steel.
right.
Interesting. Okay.
With beige accents on the
Yeah.
inside. Each one of them has day and date. The one you were talking about comes on a bracelet,
Uh-huh.
orange indices, accents, white around the scales. That one is completely steel, non-coated, and then there's a
Yeah.
black
Like a
coated, like you
PVD
said, it
one,
has
right?
the rainbow markers on it.
Yeah.
I
And see,
think,
which
yeah,
is cool though, because it's kind of a, if you remember, there were some SK divers that had like the rainbow like graduations around
yes,
the dial. So it wasn't like specific markers, but there was like certain types of graduations that were around that this kind of pays tribute to. Now, again, in more of a modern context, this is probably, something that is we're seeing on trend. Like, you have the rainbow Daytonas. We talked about the what was it? The Ulysse Nardin with their rainbow divers, and this is a trend. So it's kind of a riff on that original style, but I think it's bringing it a little bit forward to make it something that's still kind of wearable but fashionable.
yeah, and each one of these are non-limited except the black. The black is 2,000 pieces.
Okay.
I don't think you'll have trouble getting one if you really want one, but I think
Yeah.
they're trying to satiate sort of what's, like you said, en vogue for their market, right? You have
Yeah.
a bronze, you have black with rainbow markers. They're giving you a little bit of everything. They come in at, I think, around $400, so not bad.
Yeah. And again, it's in-house movement, it's Orient, it's a lot of good stuff. I mean, it's a respectable dive watch brand. It's a respectable watch brand in general for a modest amount of money. You know what I mean? Like this is a great starter watch type company. Orient just like that's a launching platform for a lot of people.
Yeah, and this is cool for somebody who wants a pretty non-traditional watch. I mean, even if you look at it, they have fluted bezels on them,
Yeah.
so that's kind of neat. But
It's just funky and I
yeah,
love it.
if you want something off the beaten path and you don't want something that looks like a super traditional watch like a Kamasu or a Ray or a Mako,
Yeah.
maybe this is where you're at.
I like it. I'm for it.
Yeah. in a camp that I'm not so for, and we've given them a ton of kudos lately because we think they're really improving overall. But Tag Heuer released a Formula One in bright green, yellow, and red. And I don't know, man. It's just this one is just a miss for me, dog.
Yeah,
It's
especially at $1,800.
I just don't know. I just don't think it's a hit. The colors are kind of, I don't know. They're very like ketchup and mustard. you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, these are, I mean, practice safe lunch. You use a condiment, right? Like this is mustard, ketchup,
And
pickles,
relish,
or
right?
lettuce. I mean, like it's basically what it is. And maybe that's the new nickname for this: the ketchup Formula One, the mustard Formula
The
One, the
condiment
lettuce
Formula
Formula
Ones.
One.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's a Swiss quartz chronograph with a tenth of a second indication. Uh, what's interesting is there's not a lot of Swiss quartz chronographs on the market, and if you notice, a lot of this kind of looks a little bit similar to what you would find in maybe like the Moon Swatch, albeit the subdials have been swapped. So on the Moon Swatch, the 60-second runner is at the bottom at the 6 o'clock position, and the tenth of a second is at 3 o'clock. On this one, it is reversed, but that's very easy to do. So if you're looking at this from a movement perspective, it's probably not too far off that this is a movement that could be shared um, in that type of design. So this could be loosely based off of something like that. If it is indeed a Swiss quartz chronograph movement, there's not that many out there.
So you don't know if that
Um,
would be an indictment on this or a kudos to the Moon's Watch.
I don't know. I don't know. But again, when it comes to sub-dot orientation, a lot of these things at factories can be swapped out. They can be changed, so they can be modified per the manufacturer's specifications. But it's it's got a tenth of a second indication, just like the Moon Swatch does. So take that for what you will. Again, I'm not saying that it is, but oddly enough, it looks and functions basically the same way. So take that for what you will. Um, that's it. I mean, this is a pass for me. We've given Tag a lot of credit. I know their Formula One series continues to be very popular. It's been very popular over the years, and that I don't think it's going to change ever. Um, but I mean, the ketchup, mustard, and pickle Formula Ones for me are just not. They're not it, fam. They're just not it. Not at $1,800 either. And that's the thing too. Like it's a ticking quartz chronograph. This isn't like a smooth sweeping chronograph like you would get from like a Mecha quartz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's also for me a miss because there's so many other alternative movements that you could have utilized. But the problem is they're all not Swiss. I don't know of any Swiss Mecha quartz style movements that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I was even trying to think solar quartz chronograph movements. I know a lot of them are in micro brands and Japanese watches, but I'm not sure about
Exactly.
Swiss.
So I don't know. I have no idea. But there you go.
And
Ketchup, mustard, and pickle, baby.
while we are on chronographs, it would be tough to go without mentioning this last one. I think everybody and their brother has seen the Zenith Pink El Primero.
Oh yeah.
I
What are
gotta
your
give
thoughts,
credit.
bro? What are your thoughts? I want to hear your
I have a
thoughts.
lot of thoughts here. Okay, so bear with me. First and foremost, the watch is sick. I would love
It
to
is
have one of
sick.
these. If
It
I
is
had
sick.
10 grand lying around, I would love to have one of these. They look great. I think they did something similar for Only Watch.
Yeah.
And now this is not a limited edition, but they are only selling it during October. And it's boutique only, and I think e-boutique, which I don't really know exactly what the hell that means.
It's e-commerce. It just
So
means it's sold online.
so only through them though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be ordered directly from their website.
So sort of like the manufacturer
Yeah.
El Primeros. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is also, I don't know if you saw those with the all blue subdials. Also,
A1.
I feel like I could just make a collection of El Primeros, but that's for another day. So good for them. They're getting in on the whole the same boat I have been in, I guess you'd say. Different charity, Susan G. Komen for the cure, but still great, right? They're doing good things with
Yeah.
that. Now, the only thing that I don't know if it doesn't sit well with me or not, and I don't know. You can tell me if I'm out of line here. I might be. I might be just be talking out my ass. So I'm reading the fine print, and it says 20% of sales will go to Susan G. Komen. This is a
Yeah.
$10,000 watch.
Yeah.
I can't imagine at this stage of the game how long they've been around, how long they've had this tooling, that this watch is costing them a ton of money to produce.
You know it's not.
Right? And we're giving $2,000 from the sale away to charity.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Couldn't do better than that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I I feel like we could just do better. That's all.
Yeah, and there's certainly a lot of ways to do better. Um, there's no question about that. But I mean, again, every brand still has to make money. Every brand has to, be a brand, uphold their reputation, and still give their consumers and clients what they want. Because there's always going to be a bottom line, right?
Yeah, my thinking was I can't imagine that at an 8 thou take you're breaking even. So if you were really making this about donations, you would think they would make it okay. We're gonna move however many of these and either take a minimum profit or like a break even because it's about the donation,
Yeah, I know.
right? You made the dial color for the month for the breast cancer month. What
Yeah,
it's about the donation. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just cynical or whatever. But
and again, I mean, not everyone can do what you're doing, right? Where you're literally giving everything to this.
so while we're on that, I think that's a very nice segue here. I have something in my possession here. I'm going to show it to you.
Oh, I know. It's so
It's
beautiful.
38 millimeters. It's hot pink, and it's from Germany.
I love it. I love it.
I have in
I
my
love it.
hand the Nomos Club Campus 38 Deep Pink.
Oh, yes,
This is
sir.
not the one that some lucky person will be taking home. They are going to send that one directly to you. But this is sort of just a loaner to me for the month, just to get the juices flowing,
Mm-hmm.
get the good
Mm-hmm.
word out. So far, I've worn this thing around. It's honestly really, really great. It's only 8.5 mils thick, hand wind.
Wow.
Yeah, super,
Wow.
super comfortable watch.
So good. So good.
Honestly, it's really good. I really do have to say. And it's just like you say, the lugs are a little bit long, but again, 38 millimeters. So it'll fit you any which way. Strap is really nice.
And it's like a suede, right? If
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
not
suede
mistaken.
strap. It's
Yeah.
it's like a gray color. It it's perfectly muted against the bright pink dial and the bright
Yeah.
orange small seconds.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the loom comes up blue, which is really cool. I didn't know that. I went outside to inside with it and I was like, oh, but yeah, it looks really, really good. Wears really great. It's pretty much everything I thought this watch would be. And at this point, I'm almost contemplating maybe buying the purple one because I already have at least one pink watch and plenty of pink straps. So I don't know how badly I could overdo it with pink, but that bluish purple, kind of tight. Purple's in now. We know that. So
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
they do also make this in 36.
See I think that would be more my vein to get a deep pink in 36 personally for me. So Nomos, if you're out there and if we need to make this happen, you let me know.
You want to send the Schmitty boy at, at 36?
Yes, please. I will happily buy it.
uh, yeah, so that's really cool. And I will get that contest post up soon. I haven't yet because I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to play by the rules. I know certain brands have policies about getting approval for posts and stuff. Oris was very loose with it. Nomos had mentioned something about approval, so I'm trying to play by their rules and make sure everything is honky dory before I just start throwing stuff up there. But it's going to be the same deal. $10 minimum donation gets you one drawing, so $20 for two, $30 for three. Anybody who has already donated for the moon swatch that I gave away, you're already in for the amount you put in for. I have it on record already. It's even still on the page. No biggie there. Anybody who wants to get in on this can get in on this. I have that link in my bio. You go to it, you make a donation, and
$10, guys. That's all it is. $10.
like I said, the dude who won the Mission of Mars, $20.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
Yeah.
Right. And that was at their height. That
Yeah.
was when they
That
were
was
super
that was
hard.
like a unicorn watch.
That dude
And
nailed it.
there's still unicorn watches for sure, but
I was talking
I
to him the
mean,
other day. He said his
awesome.
wife stole it. And now she's into watches because she wears it all the time. So
That's awesome.
really
That's
that
so sick.
backfired on him. Not only is he out of Moonswatch, but she's gonna start taking his stuff.
Hey man, it happens. It
Double-edged
just
sword, right?
sometimes I wish my wife would be the same way, where she just like start robbing my lunchbox, but she doesn't and she won't. And I wait for that day where she's like, you know what, I'm just gonna wear this. And I'm like, please go ahead.
Yeah. And so that's really great. I'm looking forward to a very big October. Obviously, this
Yes.
is the time of year that we really buckle down and try to meet our goals and stuff. But I mean, I'm already there. I'm already very happy with where it's gone and where it's
Yep.
going. And as always, a big thanks to everybody who's been a part of that.
And there's gonna be some other little Easter egg stuff that might be coming out that bro will announce
Yes, yes, I
along
do have.
along the lines of
Last
that.
year I had those Walbrook Pink Tropics that they threw in as a sort of a runner-up prize. I've got a couple this year that are in the works, so it's not just one little thing.
So $10, guys. That's all it takes. Throw your donations in, follow bro's bio, add your $10 and win some cool stuff. And it's for a good cause, of course. So there you go.
And 100% donation.
100%. There you go. Not 20%, 100%. You guys know where your money's going.
And with that, before we go to main topic, just I guess some things that have I've observed. I don't know if they bother me. I don't know if I'm salty about them, but I just observe these things and I kind of it's always expected, I guess. But when you think about stuff like this, right? Zenith is getting a ton of good publicity for this.
Yep.
Right. Only Watch got a bunch of good pub for. Actually, I don't know. Was it Only Watch? Anyway, whatever.
No, it was so it wasn't Only Watch, it was the Pink Dial Project.
Yeah, Pink Dial. Sorry, that was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I misspoke. Pink Dial Project. They did all those one-offs. They got a ton of good publicity, right?
Yeah.
Now, this isn't just me. This is a lot of people who have contributed to this, who've been in on this. Obviously, you're helping out. Kelly with her live streams, donating all of the badge money she's got.
Yep.
Has kicked it in. Strap Habit, again, complete 100% donation. He did not ask me for any dough. I offered to go halves with him. He told me no. So he is on the hook for 100% of those straps. They are completely donated. And so when you see him, that's where your money's gone. And there's 0% profit being taken. But he's gotten some good pub in it for himself, and people have rightfully so bought some other straps from him. Like my buddy who has the Zen EZM, it now lives on a black Strap Habit sailcloth. Yeah. And he's like, this should come with the watch. He's like, I love this strap. And it's people wouldn't have found it if not for the
giveaway.
So
my buddies are the same way. It's like they bought the pink strap to support the cause, and then next thing you know, it's like, yeah, I just ordered a rubber strap and another black sailcloth. And I'm like, hey guys, hold on. Like, there's only so many straps he has in stock. So give him a chance to restock. But he's getting great publicity out of this. I know he is. So kudos to him and what he's been putting forward. So it's all good.
Yeah, and he's been very happy to be involved. It's been a great sort of little friendship and bond between us, even though I basically ragged the crap out of every watch he has, incidentally, not even on purpose. Even a few episodes back, I was like, who the hell would buy that $5,000 Seiko LX?
Oh no.
I was like, dude, I can't win with you, man. I'm sorry.
He's like, it was me. It me.
Yeah, but he does have that. He does have a restock coming for this month, so that's going to be really good. Keep an eye out for that.
So it is this month.
So for October, he's going to have them in, and
okay.
It does run the event runs through the end of the year.
Okay.
So don't be shy. Don't think you're missing out on the event if you buy one after. But he's going to restock this one last time, and then everything's going to go, and that's it. At least for this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you heard it here, guys. This is it.
So, like I was saying, right? Those got really good publicity. A ton of people are in on this. And it's, again, not just us, right? You have the people who donate, people like you who help out. You have brands. We have Aura's got on board last year.
Yep.
That was great. And that, at the point, was a pretty high demand watch. It was hard. They had a hard time keeping those on the bracelet in stock. And they gave me one on a bracelet. Full bronze, pink dial. It was a hot watch at the time. Again, kudos to them. Forever grateful for that. Nomos this year, again, pretty hot watch. They told me themselves, like, we're having trouble stocking these. And so that's why they wanted to send it directly to consumer when whoever wins it, because it's probably going to take, because I'm going to run this basically until November 1st, end of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And then it's probably going to take a few weeks beyond that just to source one for that person and get it to them. They said you'll have it by the holidays. So it might take a few weeks, but you're going to get it. But again, they're having trouble keeping it in stock.
Yeah.
And they still were kind enough to throw me one my way. So kudos to them. But there's a lot of people involved with this. And, there's not even a blurb, not even a mention anywhere, not even for a good cause, not even to shed some light on a noble effort.
Yeah, that's a little bit that
Rubs me the wrong way, just a little
yeah.
bit. Again, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
wake.
no.
I
I
don't
mean,
stay up
and
at night
again, it's
thinking about it.
not even being salty at this point. It's just, hey, you've done an incredible thing. You're doing a great cause. You're donating a lot of money. You're having a lot of people from different industries, different type of collaborations really help get the message out. And I know it's out there. Every time I refresh my feed, I see somebody with a pink sailcloth strap all the time now. And you and I have talked about this offline. There's people who I know from a cursory standpoint that they're wearing these things. Like, these aren't even people who are in the watches and they're rocking pink straps because they saw it online, it was cool, and they wanted to get one. So for me to not even get a little bit of a kudos, not even to get a little bit of a mention, especially for all the hard work that you've done 2 years in a row now, it's a little disconcerting. Um, and I know you'll be humble about this, but I'm upset, to be honest. So there's my hot take. This is all for a good cause, and not a single mention from any blog or brand or anything about this. And I really can't say anything about Nomos because they're obviously donating the timepiece. But what I mean is, like, there's not been a single publication that's covered this, and this is actually good journalism. Like, this is a great story. The guy who runs a meme account for watches has raised money through different collaborations over this year to donate a timepiece for a good cause, and then donate all this money to cancer research and awareness. Like, that is huge. Nobody's talked about it. So despite all of that, thank you to the listeners. Thank you to everyone that's donated money, that's collaborated, that's really trying to push this forward, because it's very important, and it would not happen without you guys. So again, we'll continue to get the message out there. I know Bro will continue to get the message out there despite not having a publicity or any type of media coverage about it. So there you go.
And I don't want people to think that this is necessarily an assassination on the watch media. I just think it's a little more like, almost like how our news media has been sort of labeled like corporate media now, where it's a little more just driven by, I don't know, different forces as opposed to necessarily what people are looking for or might want to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So you have sort of this media and rogue media thing going on now in the mainstream, right? You have like all these alternative news sources and podcasters and things that people get their various news from. And I think it's starting to trickle into this now, where you have everybody kind of knows what they're getting from the, I guess, quote unquote, corporate media.
Yeah.
And then you have a few like rogue sources. And like, I don't consider us media. Like, I don't consider myself a media person. I would say like, maybe a commentator. Yeah. Like we just, we talk about the issues, we talk about the hits, we bring in some stuff that people don't necessarily hear other places, and that's our little niche in the world, and that's fine. I don't consider ourselves media. Like, I'm not out here interviewing people and getting press releases and things, but I guess that's what it is, and I understand that's why it probably hasn't happened yet. But you would think at some point somebody would be like, you know what, this is like a really feel good story.
You would think.
But again, big kudos to all of you for helping out, because it's become somewhat of a movement, man. It's like you said, you scroll the feed and it's pink sailcloth all over the place,
everywhere.
It's astonishing. Everywhere. And it's even people who do not know who I am, because not that I get the tag, but I'll see Strap Habit gets the tag. And like you showed me the other day, there was, I can't remember what was that a Braver?
I know it's an odd name for a watch.
It's a micro brand, I think, but it was black
it's definitely a micro brand,
light pink subdials on this, and the guy was from, I think, Italy or somewhere, and it was in a different language, but you could see it said from Strap Habits, new hot pink straps, and I was like, this guy doesn't know who I am, and he bought this strap. Like, this is beyond
it's
meme culture.
Braver or Braver, BR.
I've seen them at Wind Up.
VUR. Braver or Braver. I'm not sure. I could be butchering it, but they came out with a different colored light pink subdial watch, and it looks so good on this pink sailcloth. It's almost like it was perfect for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe drop us a comment if you want us to try to see if we can get this watch for next year, because that might be a cool pick too. Because it's not an inexpensive watch either. I think they go for around $2,000 or $3,000 for the timepiece. So
Okay.
it's not an inexpensive chronograph from a general perspective.
Yeah, but I was just shocked. Like this person didn't even know, they don't follow me, they didn't tag me. So like they bought this from Strap Habit. So it's
Yeah.
beyond just, oh, let's help out with a good cause. It's these are fire. I want them. Where do I get that?
Yeah.
And that was even a big conversation starter when I was at the Wrist Check Pod meetup. People were like, "What strap is that?" And then I had to go into the whole thing. Well, I run this account. You might have heard of it, and but went through the whole spiel, and people were like, "Yeah, no, I'd never even heard of that. I just want to get one." And I was like, "Well, they'll be restocking soon, unless you have a weird lug width, and then you can get one now." But
Yeah.
yes, but just thanks to everybody. It's just it seems like there's almost like I don't want to say people are ignoring the elephant in the room,
Yeah.
but there's no way you haven't come across by now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let that be what it is.
Yeah. However, this is not an episode about coverage in the watch industry. This is a little fun episode that you and I put together because another fun fad that kind of runs rampant now in watches is watches in whether it be movies, series, film, television, yada yada. People are all about the watch spotting, right? And even it was funny. I went to visit my mom not that long ago, and she was watching a movie. It was called um, "The Art of Racing in the Rain." I think it was.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
guy's wearing a Speedmaster.
yeah. He has a speedy reduce on. I think is
Yeah,
is what he has.
I could
Yeah,
tell it was a Speedmaster. I didn't hang around long enough to check it out, but I was like, oh, I could tell it's a Speedy. So that was cool. But that's the cool thing now that you have all these articles, watches and movies, and people are
yeah,
always, whatever new thing comes out, they're like, oh, this watch is in that. So with that in mind, we were talking about what some of our favorite characters would wear if you were going to put a watch on them, and or if somebody did and you didn't necessarily love what the prop master used, sort of what would you recast in that spot for them?
yeah.
So you have a few, I have a few. We'll go back and forth. We'll have some fun. Do you want to start or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, let's keep it consistent. You always start off, so
Okay.
I'm better off the bench. So
All right. My first pick, I went with my favorite movie, which is Rounders. For those of you who do not know what Rounders is, it's a movie that is centered around the game of Texas Hold'em. So poker. If you don't know much about cards, you can still watch this movie. It's very cool. It's shot in almost like that first person narrator, like those old noir films where the guy has like a
yeah,
very baritone voice. It's Matt Damon. You have Edward Norton, John Malkovich, John
yeah.
Turturro. There's a
Starcast,
lot of great,
Starcast.
yeah, great cast. And it's set in New York City. And basic plot of it is that this is the illegal poker world. So this is before the online trend and everything. So people are in person playing cards in underground card rooms, and fortunes are won and lost. And it's
Yeah,
about this guy who's played by Matt Damon, and he goes to this guy's poker den named Teddy KGB. So rather than going with the vanilla choice and taking Matt Damon in this one, I went with Teddy KGB. Teddy KGB is rumored to be connected to the top of the Russian mob. He's got henchmen. He's got an unlimited bankroll, and he's played by John Malkovich. He's like this scruffy dude. He eats Oreos all day long. He wears corduroy brown pants and a red track jacket with like yellow
yeah. Very
stripes.
Russian colors.
Maybe one of those new tag Heuers would be perfect for him. But but
Yeah, definitely the catch up.
although he is baller, he doesn't necessarily exude baller.
Yeah,
So I was thinking about watches that would sort of represent this. And I went with the watch that is rumored to be on Christian Bale and American Psycho, which is the Seiko SNX J90. It's basically the Seiko version of the two-tone Rolex Datejust, right? Because he's a he's known as a thug and a baller, but he's not. He doesn't portray that. Like I said, he eats Oreos out of a poker chip tray.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so I think a Rolex would be an inappropriate choice for him, and I didn't want to necessarily throw a Russian watch on him because he's very Americanized. He uses a lot of funny slang and American sayings, so I don't think he's very like old world.
Yeah.
I thought this would be enough to get the look of the Datejust, but I also don't think he. I don't know if he would
No,
park that in an asset because he's using that money all the time.
yeah, exactly. But this also makes complete sense because this is a type of watch that's enough from a distance that looks like it's flashy, looks like it's showy because it has that same type of silhouette and motif. But we all know it's not the thing, you know? And I think, having done a Google of this guy, again, played by John Malkovich, um, this is exactly the type of watch I would imagine this guy to wear. It's so funny to me that this is. I think you hit the nail on the head on this one.
So this is a 38 millimeter version. You get a day and date, which is the giveaway, no Cyclops.
Yeah,
But he's just really funny. You got to watch the movie. He has a lot of great one-liners. You know, I don't know if his Russian accent is good, but it's funny enough. You know, he
right.
talks about kids got the alligator blood. I can't get rid of him. Like he's got these like thug lines, and they're so good. It's one of my favorite movies. It's great the whole way through it. It kind of gives you a look into like the underground gambling lifestyle and really how people can get in trouble with it and really, become desperate real quick. But it's
Yeah,
super
absolutely.
cool. It's a decently long movie, and it also has some pretty cool cameos from guys like Johnny Chan, who won the World Series multiple times. So if you're a poker fan, you'll love it. You probably have already seen it a million times. And if you're not, it's at least a fun watch once through. My wife watched it through once and she thought it was still a pretty good movie despite not knowing much about cards. But
That's
really cool
okay.
movie. Yeah, I would
It's okay.
definitely.
You have all of the actors there to make up for it. You have all the actors there to make up for it.
Yeah, and I didn't even hit them all. Like there's so many more. Like Famke
Yeah,
Janssen, can't remember his name. Very famous old actor. He's passed on by now, but he plays like a judge, and it's just cool. It's a very cool movie. So that is my first pick. I think I probably um shot for the moon my first pick, but
no, but
we'll
I
see
think
the
it's good
rest of it.
though. I
Yeah.
think it's good.
All right.
Okay.
Why don't you go next?
Yeah, yeah. So I have Indiana Jones. So good old Indy. He doesn't wear a watch, but people have put him in a lot of different watches over the years, especially because he's played by Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford was at one point in time a Hamilton ambassador. I don't know if he still is. I don't think so, but he was at one point constantly wearing Hamiltons. But I just feel like Indy, who's a character that's very much an old soul, kind of takes place in his movie tenure in many different time periods. Um, for me, I think he needs kind of like a pseudo adventurers watch, but he's also kind of like a pilot and does crazy stunts and stuff with the planes, and yeah, he's just an active person.
I think he's a pilot in real life too.
Who Harrison?
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Yeah. Um, so I decided to put him in something that's a little bit esoteric. And this is the Longines Avigation 1935 Type A7. There's a few different versions of this watch, and the specific one that I chose was a black dial, and it has kind of more modern numerals. There's one that just came out, I think, like in 2020, so a couple of years back. But it's a 41 millimeter case, steel, two subdial register chronograph, but it's a mono pusher chronograph. And it has kind of the driver's or pilot orientation for the dial. So it's placed at an angle because I imagine if you're doing active things, you're doing stunts, you're doing whatever, this is the type of kind of orientation you want to be able to read the time in. But it has, old school cathedral hands and just this very vintage feel. And I think to me, especially because Indiana Jones does so much stuff, in the 1930s and 1940s. He's battling the Nazis, that kind of thing. Like he needs a watch that's very much of that era as well. And although this is a modern timepiece, it's inspired by those classic Longines timepieces that were available during that time. specifically something like a mono pusher chronograph. And this is a watch to me that's so impressively cool. It's purely novelty. Like I would only own this watch just to say that I own it and have it in my collection because it's so out there, especially given the orientation of the crown and how the dial set up. But I think this is very much a watch that screams Indiana Jones, screams adventure, and screams kind of like a true classic pilot style.
Yeah, I'm really loving the white with the really dark beige loom on it.
Yeah, so
I
that was
know,
the first version. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I know. Obviously, that's how they age out, and the newer versions are not going to have that. But
Yeah.
it's really cool, and a lot of brands have released watches that look like this that are much more money than this
Yeah, I mean,
pretty
look
recently.
at the Vacheron driver's watch.
Yeah,
Now it's not a chronograph, but it's got that odd shape and it's got the crown and kind of that odd position. But I mean, it's very much this style, aesthetic where it's turned. The dial reading is actually at an angle.
yeah, I think this is a great pick for Indy. I think it fits the time period well. I think it fits what he does well. And speaking of Indy and Rich G's Radio, our buddy Tom, I believe, was on the last Indy film, The Crystal Skull.
Oh yeah, with
Yeah,
Shia LaBeouf. That's
yeah,
right. I think he did mention that.
yeah. He's been posting a lot of stories where he actually looks like Indy lately. He's got
I
like the
know he's
hat
he
and he's
like
out
he's
there
what.
eating worms and stuff, man. That's why I reposted this thing. I was like, I just want to come back as Tom in my next lifetime,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, I saw that. I saw that post on the page. That's so funny. But it's true though. Like he's what, like in the Grand Canyon somewhere. He's been doing
He
hiking
was
and
out
all
in New
kinds of crazy stuff.
Mexico. Like, I know he's
Yeah,
busy. I know he's as run down as I am, but like, dude. Uh,
so cool, so cool.
yeah, so I'm gonna try to catch up with him at Wind Up. We're gonna go hopefully grab a
Oh,
beer
that's
so
awesome.
we can
That's awesome. You gotta
talk
you
some
gotta send
shop.
me a shot
Oh,
and
definitely.
yeah, that'd be so cool. Shout out Tom. I know you're
Yeah,
listening.
always. My second pick hits a little close to home. A movie I really enjoy, and also, a profession that I'm very familiar with. I picked Carl Casper from the movie Chef, portrayed by Jon Favreau.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
If you haven't seen it, he's a very famous restaurant chef. He gets into it with his GM or owner, and,
Typical.
and been there.
Typical and rage quits.
Yeah, rage quits, ends up on his own, and he goes on the road with his son and another friend, and they have this whole big adventure or whatever. And he rediscovers his sort of his passion for why he's there, and sort of why making food from the heart sort of resonates as opposed to just a hollow menu that you put out that you're not entirely behind. But
Yeah.
regardless, if you've caught me on Spirit of Time, I've spoken sort of about my career and everything a little more lengthy there, with Matt, and we sort of came up with Panerai as sort of like the chef's watch. And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but we went through
No, it totally makes
so many
sense.
people, Wolfgang Puck,
Yep.
all these different chefs, men and women.
Yep.
They resonate with Panerai, and
And like bronzo panorized too at that.
yeah,
Like
some
it's
submersibles, some bronzos. The gaudier the case, the better. But I think it's because when you live sort of an artistic lifestyle, you're non-conventional. You don't want something that looks like everything else, and
right.
heaven forbid you need to be in the kitchen doing something, because once you're at that level, you don't need to get your hands dirty very often.
Yeah.
But if you need to be in there, a 300-meter diver does not hurt,
Yeah, for sure.
right? And
For
so
sure.
for
Absolutely.
so for Mr. Casper, I picked the Panerai PAM 510. It's similar to the one I had, the 560, except it has the small seconds at 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is just overall a cool watch. My friend used to have one. I really like sandwich dial and everything on it. Looks super great. Has awesome loom.
And it's an
But
8 day.
yes, 8-day power. Again, if you want to, you can nitpick in-house movement there or not. But it is an 8-day movement, which is super convenient, and you only have to wear it once a week, and it's all good to go. I
Yeah.
really did like that about it. Super legible, super clean, and it's got the Achayo finish, so it is super gaudy. You can throw it on rubber, which was my favorite part. There's a ton of rubber straps for it, and they're super comfortable, and they make that 44 millimeter case a pleasure to wear. Or if you're feeling fancy, there are a ton of both Panerai and bespoke leather strap makers that will make you any leather color, any grain, you name it, and they all look amazing. And I think that's part of the appeal of the very sterile Panerai look is any strap you throw on it looks great. There's no clashing. You can go as off the charts as you want. I had a lime green alligator for mine, and it looked awesome.
Yeah, it's such a cool look. Such a cool look.
So I think that's a great pick for him. And again, I think that's a chef's watch because not only because of the functionality of being both water resistant and very legible, but it's just everybody when I talk to them, like panoramas that I've spoken to in the wild, they've been like, it's an unmistakable design. It looks
Yeah.
like sort of like
Yeah,
a
it doesn't look
Porsche's
like
to
anything
cars.
else, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
you know what this is, and that's what they like about it. And so
Yeah.
I think that's why you have two camps. You have people who are super into Panerai, and then you have people who are never going to touch it, and that's fine. You can mean
Yeah.
either one. But for the people who are into it, they're really into it, and you can see why. The way Matt McD put it is it's the sort of anti-hero watch.
Yeah.
So it's not the fan favorite, but it becomes sort of a favorite through almost like Deadpool, right? He's not, I don't know if he's a hero, but he's an anti-hero, right? He's quirky,
Yeah.
and he's ugly, and he's off the charts. So I think that's a perfect representation. But I think that's why it fits sort of the chef lifestyle so much. And if you look at him in the movie, he's got tattoo knuckles, and he's kind of an oaf, kind of just like a rough and tumble dude. So I think it fits him perfect.
Yeah, I think this would be a solid choice for a chef. No question, especially Jon Favreau's character. I mean,
Yeah,
I just like Jon Favreau in general. I think
yeah,
he's a great
he's good.
director, and he's a great producer and everything. And he's certainly a very artistic minded person. So to me, this is very much that kind of esoteric, highbrow thinker type watch. It just makes sense because, again, where it looks very brutish from the outside, you flip it over to 8-day power reserve, like manual line movement. Like
Yep.
it's just got that element to it that makes it make sense for that type of character. I think it's very cool. All right. That said, my second pick, going much lower in price point.
Here we go.
I have a Ferris Bueller from the 1986 film Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So for me, if you guys have seen the film, it's an amazing cult classic movie. Very 80s in every aspect of it, which is great, fantastic. It's such an amazing movie. But there actually is some watches in there. I don't know if you caught this, but Ferris's girlfriend Sloane, she wears a Cartier tank.
High school,
cool.
eh?
Yeah, in high school. But again, this is the
Chicago.
Chicago suburban high school type environment. One of the his best friend's dad has a vintage Ferrari sitting in the garage, like it's his baby. There's a whole thing for it.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin it if you haven't seen the film, but go see it. But to me, Ferris is very much like the class clown, and he's the kind of guy. He's the favorite of the family. He's the guy that gets everything. He strikes me as a character that is very much an old soul, but is quirky enough to do things in a very different way. And this entire movie is indicative of his kind of lifestyle. So for me, I put him in a watch as very much of the 80s as well, and specifically that release year, 1986. Which is the 1986 Swatch Jellyfish. This is such a cool watch. If you've never seen it before, Swatch actually has a new spiritual revival of this watch that's out. And essentially, it was a completely translucent type of case for the Swatch. So you could see the quartz battery, you could see the mechanism. You had these primary colors, red, blue, and yellow for the hands themselves. And there was a few different colorations, but kind of the more classic one was like the all white translucent material. And that's exactly what Swatch brought back today. I believe that there's a 34 35 millimeter, which would have been the original size. And now there's the version that they call the Nugent size, which is now a 41. You can get the watches. They're very funky. They're very cool. And I think, Ferris himself as a character, he's, like I said, he's an old soul, but he's somebody that appreciates the quirkiness of life and not taking himself so seriously. So for me, he's the type of person that would certainly wear a watch, but if he's going to wear a watch, he's going to wear the weird watch. And to me, this Swatch Jellyfish just makes complete sense for his character. And again, it's of the 80s. Like, who wouldn't want to wear this type of watch? So Swatch, very cool brand. Still very desirable. And for those of you out there who are trying to get a Moonswatch and you just can't, like, go pick this up. It's not very expensive. It's certainly a very cool piece, and it's certainly a watch that will be a conversation starter. And I'm going to say this, bro. Mark my words. I'm seeing a lot more people start posting things about Swatch in general. I'm wondering if we're ready for the second coming of Swatch, like the second full-fledged generation where people start rocking two Swatches again, and we're going to start seeing bumper cases and all that kind of quirky stuff that was so of the 80s. I'm wondering if we're ready for it.
Well, I think they definitely have put themselves on the map this year, right?
Yeah.
Given the Moon Swatch and all its success, and now they've got something for every fan base, right? They've got Dragon Ball Z, they've got everything now.
Yeah.
So whatever you
They're
like.
covering a lot of camps. That's
But
for
it's funny
sure.
you said if you can't get a Moon Swatch. I know Rashawn from Wrist Check Pod, when they went, they got in line and they didn't want up getting one. He said he was in the line sneaking around the store, and he said, "You're gonna stay open because I'm getting a watch either way." So yeah, I knew he bought one, even though you couldn't
Yeah.
get a Moon Swatch, which is pretty funny that you mentioned that. But yeah, this is a cool watch. I think it's cool enough, but also just immature enough to be a good pick for a high schooler.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And this reminds me of exactly what you're talking about. He's sort of a class clown, but also sort of like the super popular guy, almost like
Yes.
like the Michael J. Fox or like the Zach Morris.
Yeah,
Right. Zach
exactly.
Morris with the giant clunky phone that like now you're like, that was so lame, but at the time it was like perfect for him. Like
Yes.
that this is exactly what reminds me of. And I think it's a really good pick. I think Swatch, yeah, I think they're making a little bit of a comeback. They're making some noise. And you know, people are into all that streetwear, and Swatch fits very well into there. The
Yeah.
price is right. Like you said, you could wear two and not even feel bad about it. They've been around. They're a fashion icon in some respects. So I think it's a good pick. And I don't think you might be too far off with the Swatch hype.
I think I just feel it. I don't know why. I've just been seeing it on the algorithms on Instagram, looking at our page, and I feel like something's coming. Something's gonna launch that's just gonna be, it's probably not gonna be the same hype as like the Moon Swatch would be, but it's gonna be something that's just gonna hit you right in the nostalgia, and you're gonna be ready for it.
It's the Swatch Omega Seamaster this time.
I mean, all I'm saying is like I would love to be part of the Sea Swatch. Like I don't know if that's what they would call it, but I just think it sounds cool. But the Sea Swatch, that would be awesome if they ever did something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
So there you
yeah,
go.
but like I said, it's a little bit of a cult classic, and it's one of those things. It's almost like sort of like the SKX or the Seiko fives. Like you can be an enthusiast, but you can't be above that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like there are people who own Paddocks that still own that stuff.
for sure.
You know,
For
so
sure. 100%.
yeah. My last pick, I went with a lady.
Ooh.
And because, like I said, we didn't just limit this to movies, so TV series, you name it. I picked Miss Beth Harmon. You might know her better from the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
Chess player, goes from sort of zero to hero.
Great show.
Yeah, so set in the 60s in Kentucky. And so I figured American watches, 60s. And if I'm a chess player, what do I think about a lot of the time? Timing,
Time.
right? Because
Yeah.
if you're playing time chess, not that you'd necessarily use a watch for that, but if you're in a bind, why not? Right. So I went with a Hamilton, and this is sort of the watches that have inspired the new chronograph H's. This
Yep.
is from the 60s. There, it's the chronograph A. There was also a chronograph B. The chronograph A is a Panda. It's 36 millimeters. It measures up to 30 minutes elapsed time, which is perfect for a chess player. You don't need a ton of time to track.
Yeah.
And it's got a movement that was based off of Value 7733, I believe. So you're
Okay.
getting a great movement, cool piece. It's unisex size, maybe not for that time period, but certainly today's standards. And I think it would be cool. Panda chronograph on Anya Taylor-Joy. She's got
Love
the
it.
fiery red hair, Panda chrono. I'm in. I think it'll look good, but I think that would be a cool piece. Chessboards are white and black watch. I think it fits sort of all of it hits all the bases there. So
I love it. I love it. I mean, and certainly such a great chrono too. Like
buy
it's an
register.
icon.
Yeah.
It's an icon. It's a very, very cool watch. And still today, one of these watches that's a very popular and collectible Hamilton. It's a very good choice.
Yeah. So they had the Panda, then they also came out with reverse Panda. But again, these are what those recent iterations you've seen. There was an automatic, now there's a hand wind.
Yep.
Those are based off of this, the two
Yeah.
register chronograph. So if you like that look, these are still reasonably priced vintage. So I think that would be
Yeah.
a cool vintage watch to own. Again, you get in a little trouble when you go with brands like a Hamilton that's going back that far. You need parts, serviceability, blah, blah, blah. It's not like a Rolex where there's a ton of stuff floating around on it. Sometimes it might be hard to get service parts for it and stuff. But if you can get one in really good condition, I always think that's cooler than the mainstream stuff because you're sort of off the beaten path a little. Just me.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think so. But I will say this, Rolex is even getting harder and harder to service too, because there's a lot of stuff that they just cut off arbitrarily, and you just can't service it anymore. So
Yeah.
anyway, to round out my last pick, I have Mr. Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nice.
And just in general, I'm a Chris Pratt fan. I really do like him. I think he's a quirky character. I've been a fan of his since basically Parks and Rec, watching that in school and different things like that. So very cool character.
What would
Very good actor.
What would a Raptor trainer wear?
Probably a Hamilton, I would imagine. But on that note, I just did not like the last one.
I haven't seen it yet.
It was very campy, and just if you haven't seen it, you're not really missing anything. I watched it on the plane, and that's exactly where I should have watched it and not spent money for it. So
yeah, it's a good look.
Anyway, so Chris Pratt in general, as Star-Lord, to me as a character, he's very much an old soul as well. And again, a lot of old souls here, but he's very infatuated by his like mother's time, like his mother's, generation, when she existed. He's got the Awesome Mix #1.
Well, that's his thing,
player.
Right? He's got a cassette player. He's sort of into analog.
Yes, exactly.
And he's sort of stuck in that time period of when he was a boy, and now he misses his mother, and he can kind of use those things to harken back.
Exactly. And so for me, the watch pick that I wanted to do something vintage. I wanted to do something that was retro, that even still somebody like the Star-Lord, somebody who lives and exists in the future and can travel and all these crazy things, he needs something that can handle that world. And for me, this is going to be a hard watch to get, but it's a Speedmaster 145012-67 Ultraman.
Ooh.
And I just think that this is a watch that perfectly encapsulates the character. Somebody who's very much reminiscent of an older time, very much formative years, listens to classic music, but does it in an analog format. This is the type of person that needs a manual wind watch. You are a star traveler, so what better timepiece for that than a Speedmaster? And to do something a little bit different, a little bit more edgy, why not make it an Ultraman? I think this is the perfect watch for the character. And for me, it's a grail piece. It always has been. I don't have $100,000 laying around to buy one, but certainly an amazing watch. And for those out there that have the relaunch that Omega did a few years ago, as part of the Speedy Tuesday project, kudos to you, man. That is such a cool piece. But for me, this is the Star-Lord watch. Speedmaster 14501267 Ultraman.
And I think you hit it on the head, because we said he's kind of stuck in that era. He's a little bit immature. He would be into the old Godzilla, Ultraman type of movie situation.
Right?
I think you got it there. Let's also review that he's a space traveler.
Yep.
Pilot. I think this hits.
He does a lot of things.
Yeah, this hits multiple levels. And also, it's commonly found on a NATO. I think that fits his style very well. I really like the new ones when you put the black light on them. You get the little Ultraman in the sub register, which is really neat. But this is a watch I've always loved, and it's always been one that I've sort of flirted with getting. I haven't, but there's something about that colored chronoseconds hand, man, gets me.
Yeah, for sure. And I've seen the Ultramans, because they were 1861 movements.
Yeah.
I've seen them with the older case placed on the new bracelet for the Speedy. It's A1. It's a game changer. It's so good.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of people's gripes with it, was that you didn't get it on a bracelet, but
especially with this only on NATO strap. Yeah. Especially that all brushed version, like the Hesalite Speedmaster.
A Hezi boy.
Yeah, it's a Hezi boy.
It's been a while since I did one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been a while. But yeah, it is definitely a Hezi boy, and it looks amazing. So
Really good pick. And if if you're not unfamiliar with Guardians of the Galaxy by now, I don't know how you could be, because basically the Marvel universe has taken over the cinemas. But
yeah, exactly.
definitely go check that out. It's more than just a Marvel movie. It's pretty funny. It's kind of
It's
pop
just
culture-y.
comical.
Yeah.
It's very much Chris Pratt's character.
There's a
I mean,
talking raccoon in it, played by Bradley Cooper. All right,
and a tree. And a tree.
You know
Let's not
Vin
forget the
Diesel
tree.
voices him.
The raccoon?
No, the tree.
No, I did
Yes,
not.
Vin Diesel voices him. He says one word for 6 movies and has gotten paid for all of it. That dude just knows what he's doing, man.
Oh my god, how
Ugh.
ridiculous is that? I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Oh no.
Yeah. So with
Oh
that,
my
I feel
gosh,
like with
that's
that bombshell, we can take this one out.
Yeah.
This has been fun. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. I know we got a little serious there at the beginning, but we cap it off in our very own traditional style. Thanks everybody for listening. And again, thanks everybody for helping out, whether it be sharing the pod, sharing the straps, just tuning in every week. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
So Schmitty, we'll see this one off. Episode 48, closing in on the 1-year mark. Good night, everybody.
Take care.
Peace.